Welcome back to the Gem Cutter's Craft. This is Justin K. Prim, and today we're going to talk about the process of learning the Jambpeg machine. So it's been about 2 weeks since this FraLap machine arrived and my Jambpeg journey has begun. So I wanted to share just a little bit of what I've been doing and learning and thinking about and realizing as I delve into the processes of this style of faceting machine. So if you have not been following my journey thus far, I'm about to hit my 10-year anniversary as a gem cutter in January, and I have started a new journey or a new branching of my journey, which is learning a new style of machine, something that's very, very different than the mast machine that I was trained on and the handpiece machine style that I've been using for the last 5 or so years. So in the last 2 weeks, I've cut 6 stones, a citrine, a zircon, a tourmaline, an orthoclase, and a barrel. So I've been just trying to do a lot of different stuff. The typical round brilliant, an oval mix cut, a couple of improvised cuts, and a cushion and a pear. Some of them were very successful, some of them not so much, but I've been learning a lot. So a couple of things that I've done this last 2 weeks. So I put together this sort of mini kit, the accessory stuff that's over here. Everything now fits into a rolling suitcase, which I'm super excited about. I'm going to share in another video. Aside from that, I have taken out the stock wing nut that was here and put in this really cool bike seat quick release. So now if I just lift this thing up, I can move this back and forth, lock it back down. Super easy. I can even do that with one hand, which is cool. I've been learning a lot about this, the mechanical stick, and this, the Evension, and how the whole thing works. I've watched pretty much every video about Jambpeg on YouTube. I've gone through the Jambpeg users group. I've read some of the websites like Bob's Faceting Machine, and I've been talking to a couple of cutters online who use this machine and gotten a couple of tips. I'm so far still training myself on how to use this. I've got a couple classes set up for next week with a couple of different French cutters here and in Paris. So I'm going to be getting some proper training here. But for now, I'm just learning what I can on my own. Super, super excited about it. I mean, 6 stones in 2 weeks is pretty good, considering that I've been traveling all over and stuff as well. But what have I learned so far? Okay, so I'm also figuring out how to transition my normal or the tools that I use normally with my handpiece machine and seeing if everything works here. And so far, everything's worked really great. I'm using my same sintered laps that I'm using on the handpiece machine. I'm using my same pewter polishing lap. So I've got a 3-lap setup. Nothing's changed between my handpiece machine and the Jambpeg machine. I'm using the same kind of dopping setup. I'm using wax for one side, glue for the transfer. Since these dops are flat, I can basically utilize my same transfer technique that I do on the handpiece machine. So the first side, my first part of the stone, I'm going to wax it to the dop. I'm going to do the girdle outline. I'm going to cut the crown, facet everything, polish everything. And then when I go to transfer, I don't think this is the typical way of doing this, but this is my typical way that I like to transfer. So I'm going to keep doing it this way, even whatever I learn next week with the French cutters. But so I've made myself a little dopping stand. So this thing fits in here. I can set it on there. Put a little glue on there, flip the stone, table down, and do a really easy transfer so I don't have to worry about is it straight in the glue and everything else. So I'm probably going to have a couple more dops made that have bigger tips because these ones are a little bit small in comparison to some of the stones that I've been cutting. I'd like to have some where the transfer is a little bit more secure with a bigger tip. So I'm going to see about getting some more dops with bigger tips, and hopefully that's not going to be a problem. Other things that I've been trying to figure out on this machine, how does my normal American style diagram system translate into this mechanical stick? So this thing has 8 sides. It's meant to be this particular mechanical stick is meant to be based on designs around 4 or 8. And then you can subdivide in 2 different ways, with one that goes +8, -8, and then one that has halfway increments, so you can go +16 or -16 with the same amount of space. So you can get in between the 8 on one side. What I figured out so far is that if I translate a design into 64 index or just get a 64 index design, I can perfectly recreate that exactly with the divisions that are on this mechanical stick. So I've been going through my own book and converting some of those designs to 64, which is a little bit of work because going from 96 to 64, not everything has a proper place to sit. So I've been redesigning some of my standard designs to be 64 index friendly and then figuring out where they're going to go on here. Now, the biggest hurdle so far has been keeping track of where I'm at on this thing, because on a 96 index or a 64 index where you can just go all the way around, I just rotate my stone and put the side in front of me that I want to cut and go down and cut it if I was on a mast or a handpiece. But that's not quite the same here because I can only go +8 and -8. So everything's based around these outside 8 numbers. And I'm really trying to get my head around how that maps out. At this point, I'd almost kind of wish that this just had 64 around the circle like an American style machine, but I don't want to bring too many preconceived ideas into how this should work. So I'm looking forward to talking with the French cutters next week and seeing how do they keep track of which side they're on, because that's been a problem that I've had. Going back to polish, and my notes are a little complicated, and I put it on +4, but then which side of the stick am I on? How do I think about those? How do I label those in my mind? So far, I've been saying position 1, position 2, position 3, but I'd like to know if the French cutters have a way of doing that. So that's something that I'm looking forward to learning from them next week. Other things I've been looking at, of course, there's no angles. So what that's pushing me towards is letting my eye get more and more familiar with proportion, how the stone is shaped, which is not something that I typically think about in my angle-based faceting on my handpiece machine. Usually it's like, okay, I know what my critical angle is. I know what I want my angle to be. I build it around there, and I know what I want to do. So I've given myself some help because I still do want to be aware of where's the critical angle at so I don't window my stone, because a couple of these I did window when I was still trying to figure out how do I do this. So I've made myself a little protractor, and if I set this on the lap and I can kind of eyeball, okay, where's my angles at? So that's just a little thing I printed off the internet and covered with tape. But I made myself also a couple of regular angles that I use. So I always like a crown angle of 35, but I don't exactly know. I mean, I have an idea about what 35 should look like on the stone, but I'm still like training my eye to do that because I'm used to just looking at the angle. So what I do here is I set this on the lap. I can eyeball where's 35. Okay, in this situation with no stone on the dop, it's about hole 12. So I might make a note, hole 12, okay. The only numbers that I'm needing to know, I want to know my crown mains angle, which is 35, and I want to know my critical angle, or at least I want to know an angle to build around, which for me is usually around 42. So if I know where 42 is for this stone that I'm working on, and I know where 35 is, then I'm improvising everything else based on that. I've been cutting pretty regularly in an improvised way for, I don't know, about a year now. So this is pretty normal for me to just know my mains and build around that. And it's been pretty easy to transfer into this system. Other things that are different, of course, is the girdling. How do we do the girdles? So I did an octagon as my last stone, and that was pretty challenging because, typically if I'm on the handpiece, I can use my plate height to help me figure out how far in every side of the octagon has to go. And I can sort of do that here. I've got this platform here, and I can set this on here and cut and cut and cut and cut and cut and do the 8 sides. But it's pretty easy to make your hand not be straight. And also I can't like go up and down with this the way that I'm used to on my handpiece machine. So I'm kind of just learning And again, this is training my eye to see better. I'm already pretty good at seeing proportions, but now I have to be really, really good because I don't have any other way of doing this other than looking at the stone, seeing if every side is straight. I can also measure the stone and see if the lengths of each side are the same. But this is just training me to be an even better cutter, which is the whole purpose of me doing this. I mean, I want to know how to use this machine. I want to be able to cut stones on it, and I'm pretty happy with the ones that I've done so far. But to me, when I see the European masters who are using this French or British or whatever style of Jambpeg, what they have that I don't have is perfection of their hand-eye coordination, perfection of their ability to see proportions, whether that's pavilion shape, crown mains, or the outline shape of the stone. Like, I'm pretty good, but not perfect. And when I see what these guys are doing, and they're doing it so easily, I'm like, I want to be there. I want to be able to do that. So that's kind of my goal here. And I'm really looking forward to working with some French cutters because I've used a Jambpeg machine with British cutters, but their Jambpeg is quite different because it doesn't have this mechanical stick. It's just the stick without this extra plate. So if we would just imagine the stick goes in to whatever hole and all of the indexes are coming from you rotating your hand, that's what I've learned from the guys in England. This way is a little bit different. It should be a little bit more sophisticated and a little bit more precise because we do have this sort of upgraded Jambpeg 2.0. Other things that I've learned or at least realized from using this, I did that video some months ago about the history of the Jambpeg, and then I did the review of the KMT. And using this machine versus one of the sort of Jambpeg 3.0s, as I've called them, the Israeli style, I can see exactly why the Israelis did some of the things that they did, why they changed some of the things. For instance, I'm now realizing what's the difference between a straight hole plate and the curved one that the Israelis have done, because when the plate is straight like this, my high holes are here, my low holes are here, and that changes the place where this plate hits the edge of my dop. And so we have to sometimes raise this up or raise this down. If you make this curved, then the flat part of the mechanical stick never moves, which is kind of cool. It's a really good idea. And it makes it so this thing never has to move. It can actually be fixed on there, which reduces a little bit of play. And I think in terms of faceting, reducing play is always a good thing. So it's been an exciting couple of weeks playing with this machine, cutting some stones, learning how to map out my diagrams and figure out how the angles work, how the holes work, and how does this system even compare to what I already know and what I've already learned from my handpiece technique and my mast machine technique. So it's been super fun, and I'm going to keep on sharing as I go to kind of update you guys in case you're wanting to learn this. Maybe you are learning this, or maybe you just want to see what kind of crazy stuff I'm up to. But it's been a really cool 2 weeks, and I think the next 2 weeks are going to be even better with some one-on-one training and really talking to some people about this style. So if you guys are in France, you might come and say hi to me and a bunch of other gem cutters in Paris next week. On Thursday, it's the Apéro Lapidaire, which is hosted by the Lapidaire Memes Instagram group, which is a couple of cutters in Paris. So I've never been to the Thursday night Apéro Lapidaire. I'm very excited to go and just kind of hang out with all the cutters of Paris and see what's going on, and then do a little bit of one-on-one time with one of the cutters there. So I'll catch you guys in a couple of weeks with updates on where I'm at. And in the meantime, I've got a couple cool videos coming up about the traveling kit that I built for this machine. And yes, I did get it under 23 kilos, so you will see me flying around the world with this machine soon. And a couple of other adventure videos that we've got finished or planned. So I will see you guys in another video, or maybe in a past video if you guys are going through the old ones. This has been Justin K. Prim for the Gem Cutters Craft right here in France. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you somewhere sometime, happy cutting.